South Main, or call 636-338.
Well, regular listeners know that indication there with Gene Autry is that our friend Darrell Skiles is back with us this morning from South Central Regional Stockyards. Darrell?
Good morning, Bob.
Hey, we got volumes this morning, so
hey, yeah,
we're good.
We got everything clicking on the right burner.
We do. It's good to have you with us this morning.
Good to be here. It's a beautiful morning. It's cloudy out there, rain coming down still. We've had a good rain. Been a good week for our pastures. We had a little moisture in the form of hail, I know, in parts of the county earlier this week, especially here in town and places. But we got about 7/10 of an inch of rain out my way. I'm way out west of town, of course. And I heard some others got around an inch. I heard some others got almost nothing out of that on Tuesday. Actually, I got it. About 1/10 of an inch out of that on Tuesday. That's what it was, but I think most of that was in the form of a couple of drops of hail that fell in my rain gauge and melted. But at any rate, later did get about a 6 or 7/10, but then like yesterday I got a little over an inch, and I've heard reports in the county here of up near an inch and a half, and looks like there's more rain on the way.
There is, and we just hope that it kind of comes like the last 24 or 4 more hours or than that. Actually has come really slow and easy, so we get as much penetration soaking in as we can to help kind of start to alleviate the drought. And we, like you said, got more on the way. I think we had 5 o'clock this morning. My official report was 1.1 inches on the south side of the county. So, yeah, we're in. It's good time in the Ozarks right now.
Sure is. I think widespread across the South Central Regional Stockyards area, trade area, we've gotten some good rain, and we're badly needing it. We were getting in a real moisture deficit, which is really odd for end of April to be in that situation. And grass starting to head out and wasn't looking the best in the world for the hay crop again this year. So it's going to look better, and it'll fill in. I know a lot of fertilizer has been put on.
Get that undergrowth going if we get enough rainfall and enough warmth. We're going to have some warmth again these evenings as the next several days ahead. So that's critical to that growth and trying to reduce that early heading. And I don't know. I've got to talk to one of my expert friends about whether it's what for sure is we can give credit to for that early heading of these crops, these plants, these warm season grasses. Fescue putting out seed heads, bluegrass, not that bluegrass amounts to that much of our forage production, but when it's heading out the 15th day of April, that's another sign that things are acting like they want to get around to it early. And is it? I don't know. I need to do some visiting around with some different folks that have some experience and know a little more about it, more about it than I do.
It was very dry and warm, and then it was very dry but cool, and so the combination makes for grass wanting to mature and head out. And I recall, though, Bob, going back several years, the year I graduated from high school, actually, in 76, I believe in May of 1976, I believe we got 3 hard-killing frosts in May, and I mean, it really, really worked hard on the hay crop. It was tough, and I know we were feeding hay by August that year because the hay crop made about a fourth of what is normal, and it was just dry all summer and pasture. I mean, after the frost, then it dried up, and it was just a brutal, brutal time. But things are looking good now. I know southwest of us, I guess I heard they got 3, 4, 5, 6, and almost 7 inches of rain, even down around the Carthage area. And certainly that'd fill the ponds and creeks, but a little more than what we'd need. But
a lot of flooding down there last night, and some more in the ahead in their future with this forecast that we've got in front of us.
Yep. But at any rate, South Central Regional Stockyards, it's we're very happy to report, these cattle prices are strong, and we hit kind of a bit of a lull here. Well, futures took a bit of a hit. They had this goofy scare about bird flu, which was absolutely non-event and nothing going on, and so that kind of whacked the futures back a good bit from what they were. But futures have rebounded some. The cash market never did really respond as much as the futures market did, but it did back off a little bit. But on the other hand, it was kind of an in-between time where a lot of the cattle had already been bought that were going to go out to those blue stem pastures and out in the Flint Hills and so on. And it's a time when the farmers, as you know, Bob, in the North Country, they're in the fields. They're more worried about planting corn and crops and getting them in, and
absolutely, yes,
not going to worry about messing with cattle right then. So we generally run into a little bit of a lull like this when some of those factors all come together, and then you throw in this stupid bird flu thing, and this bird flu thing is kind of a goof. It's just a really goofy, stupid thing, because it's like they've been looking for something, and I know Corbett Wall talks about it. They're always looking for a black swan to somehow or another try to. If the market gets too good, well, they want to find something to drag it back. And the traders then turn around, and they make a bunch of money and stuff on stuff that really isn't even real. But this deal, like on bird flu, though, they detected some bird flu in some few dairy cattle. Well, then they determined, they probably got it because there's all these big flocks of birds. You got starlings and blackbirds that flock in, and they carry their own diseases, and they pick something up. Well, then they had a worker got sick, but it really only not amounted to was like a mild case of pink eye was what the worker had, and it was no public health threat, and there's stuff going on all the time. But what gets me, Bob, and I've said this for some time, our scientific ability to detect things has far surpassed our ability to interpret what we've detected.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But the government, these knuckle dragging Neanderthals in some of these government agencies, they have nothing better to do than. Well, it's funny, Bob. People thrive on fear. You ever think about how popular horror movies are? Friday the 13th, Halloween.
With some people, not with me.
No, I know, me either. But people just for some reason have this. There's this deal that people like to be scared, and then the government knows that, and the people in the government seems to love to scare people. And there's people who seem to make a lot of money, especially in government, if they can scare people into something. And then you get to where you can really control people out of this. You talk about that. My girls used to, when they'd be riding along in the truck when they were little, and they go, "Daddy, tell us a story about the crazy man." And I had a goofy story I'd tell them about the crazy man, and they'd act like they were getting scared and stuff, and then so it ended fine, it's no big deal. But it's just kind of a funny thing that some people they just want to somehow or another be scared a little bit, but again, we can detect things, but we don't know what we just detected or what it actually means. But we'll get it, and I'm going to tell you a perfect example of this. I'm going to really digress here. Dave Patton.
Well, pretty soon I'm going to give our disclaimer.
Yeah,
put that in somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Dave Patton, if you listen, bear with me here. Several years ago, while I was on the commission here, and this was probably 15 years ago, we got invited with the Department of Natural Resources was sending somebody down. We had to have a meeting about Spring Creek, and Mayor Brown, Gary Brown, was mayor at the time, and loved Gary Brown and miss him, and. But Gary Brown and I was presiding commissioner, and so by that I drew short straw and had to go to this meeting and represent the county, and Gary was there. And so the whole thing was, though, the Department of Natural Resources, they informed us that they'd taken some water samples of Spring Creek, and that they had grave concerns that part of Spring Creek was impaired, that it had low dissolved oxygen levels, it wouldn't support aquatic life very well, and all this stuff, and that we was going to have to figure out what the cause of this was and figure out what steps could be taken to address it. Well, Spring Creek starts up down here kind of on the south edge, out south of the city, and runs along, then comes around the east side over by Country Mart and swings around, then finally comes around north, comes under 19 and goes down, and then the sewage treatment plant, city's water sewer treatment plant dumps into Spring Creek. So as we got into this, it became clear that, now, thankfully, the water below the water treatment plant was good. Perfectly fine. Go down there and get you a cup of it and drink it if you'd like. I probably wouldn't, but anyway. But it was good. No problem there. The problem was all in the middle and the upper reaches of Spring Creek up through there, and that it was just, it was the water tested. And we could never get out of them. Well, why did they come and test? Was there a complaint or whatever? And then we never did get an answer as to, when they were getting these samples, they obviously were traipsing up and down private property. Did they get permission from these property owners to be on these people? Well, they didn't want to talk about that either. That was a deal. But at any rate, they wanted us to just think about what might be the possible causes, and we'd meet again. So in the meantime, after they left, we got to looking at this, Bob, and at their data. And when they took this data, well, they took these water samples in July and August of the year before, and it was one of the hottest, driest springs and summers we'd had in a long time. Bob, as you know, the upper part of Spring Creek doesn't run year-round.
Oh, heavens no.
When they took them water samples, to find any water samples, they had to find stagnant pools of water. And yeah, guess what?
Oxygen
Probably had
levels
low
low.
oxygen levels that didn't support much aquatic life. Hello, take a bathtub full of water and set it out there in July, and before it finally dries up completely, pull a water sample, and it will probably test pretty poorly. And so when we met again, we said, now, as we understand it, the water samples below the sewage and water treatment plant are fine. Oh, yeah, that's okay, but we got to figure out what's happening. Are people fertilizing their lawns too heavy? Well, good grief. Do you really think people are fertilizing their lawns that much in Salem, Dent County? Who likes to mow their yard that much that they're dumping excess fertilizer on their yard?
This is not urban city.
Oh, it was insane. It was absolutely asinine. And so they went on, and they go, and then so we pointed out, you people had to be taking these at a time when there hardly was any water in that creek. You had to take them. Well, they didn't know about that, but this was just these people that were paid to go out and pull these samples of water. But we got to find a solution to this thing. So we told them, well, the only solution to this is if you supply the city enough money to go ahead and build another separate sewer and water treatment plant up on the south side of the city, add some flow to the creek so it runs year-round, because you said it's good below the treatment plant. Oh, well, that was just why they just couldn't consider that, why we were just crazy. Well, and we said, well, then the whole discussion was pointless. My point is, they detected something, but their ability to interpret what they detected was far beyond their capability.
Yep.
They couldn't do it. So the ability to detect is one thing, but the ability to interpret what you've detected, there's stuff out there, for crying out loud. And then this stuff, I hadn't thought about that for a long time until this little goofy thing with
You
bird
got
flu.
fired up on it today.
Well, anyway,
And
so
we'll
that's
issue that disclaimer that the above is not necessarily the opinion of South Central Regional Stockyards or KSMO Media.
Oh, that's okay.
But anyway,
I'm sure
it's
well,
good, enjoyable
it's just information.
commentary.
It's just information.
It
Yeah.
is.
You pull water. You pull water out of a stagnant pool of water. It won't test very good. But
yeah.
don't get all shook up and go nuts about it and stuff. So at any rate, the knuckle dragging Neanderthals went on back to Jeff City, and they never bothered us anymore about that stuff. So anyway, that's my speech for the
Special
day
commentary
on
for the
stuff.
day.
So anyway, but back on the market stuff.
Yes.
Okay. Now what we dwell on is the facts and so on, and the fact is the cattle market's very good. These rains will do nothing but help. I mean, people were legitimately getting pretty worried and concerned about their grass.
Absolutely.
You know that you got cattle.
Yep.
You start looking ahead that okay, we might have to do things a little different here and just make sure we got enough grass to take care of the factory and so on, right? Yeah. So
Well, I fed hay later than I normally would, and actually didn't put the cows on grass till last Sunday. And April 21st is pretty late to do that.
Yeah.
But there's just not a lot of grass out there. We got to conserve what we got and make sure that it extends through most of the summer, even though because it's going to go into that warm weather slump here in June. With the temperatures we'll have, and so we've got to be ready for the future, not just today.
Yep. So with that in mind, I mean, this rain that's been coming here a little bit, it helps everybody out. And so, but the cattle market, the feeder market, the cash market's been running very good. As I said, the runs at this time of year we've backed off just a little bit on the runs, but still at very good prices. And actually on the cash feeder prices have been running at a pretty good premium to the futures market anyway. And but the futures market now is kind of started coming back. I'll get into the cash prices and the feeders that we've been getting pretty. But at any rate, another thing that factors in, of course, as you know, Bob, we starting somewhere around the 1st of May every year. We have some feeder capping yearling specials. We got a lot of excellent producers across the region, and folks like you that produce calves in the fall, run them through the winter, and then come spring, those calves are ready to go to the markets. And we'll have a series of special feeder sales here in May and June, and depending on weather and so on, that factors in. But at any rate, the futures market Actually, yesterday was up another 2.25 from what it had been, closed at around 246. A couple of weeks ago, it was down to 237 when they were trying to scare it into running it backwards. But as you know, of course, back in February, it was up around 250, 259. August feeders closed at 258. November feeders closing at 258.95. But again, back in February, they were on up there at the 260 range or better. So, but the message, though, is the feeder market is really in a very strong position. We know numbers-wise, there's just not the number of cattle out there. There's not the number of feeders out there. So, and people like to eat beef. That's just the way it is. And now we're coming up pretty soon on the grilling season, and that always bodes well. So, so the futures market has turned around, and it's been rebounding nicely. I did want to get into, though, to some of these prices. Went and dropped my ink pens. Got to get my pen so I can keep my notes straight. Anyway, regardless, the feeder calf and the whey cow and bull markets have been very strong. Whey cows and bulls backed off just a little bit from what they were. But I wanted to just kind of get in and share a little bit on these feeder calf prices. This past week, again, a little lighter runs than what we would have. But even so, we've had some really good quality cattle. This is, and I'm quoting here from the Missouri Department of Agriculture Market News Service report. And so some of these, here on these steers, medium and large, number one muscle calves, looking at some of these, the 400 to 450 weights, the 4 to 5 weights, we're looking at 320 to around 376 a pound on some of those 4 to 5 weight cattle. 5 to 6 weights, we're selling 294 to 3.25 or so a pound. We had some 505 pound value added calves at 328. That's around $1,650 a head for them.
Awesome price.
Some of them steers. But again, that's some value added. And these calves actually were weaned. And as you know, we'll sell a lot of, and these calves were weaned, as I said, and they had a double round of shots. Most of them with using a modified live virus. That's become more and more important in these shots. We had some 600, had a few, not a lot with the reduced numbers. We had a few of these 600 to 630 pound cattle selling in a range 285 to 293. Kind of an average price for those cattle there at about 291. So that's about $1,783 a head for those old calves. Heifers, of course, are always behind their steer mates some, but didn't really have many heifers that would have fallen in the value-added price range this week. But a lot of these 4 to 5 weight heifers would have traded in a range of 284 to 340 a pound. Had some 424 pounders average, bringing 326, so about $1,380 a head for little heifers weighing 424. And again, these are medium, large frame number one. These were probably predominantly, they don't break it down on any color here, but I'd say most of these were probably black or black baldy calves. That's we just had several really good quality of those this week. Some of the 5 weights trading in a range of 274, 275 up to 304. Again, some calves averaging 524 at around 291. $1,525 a head on them, and he didn't mark there that they were value added, so I'm assuming they were just sold without any note that shots or anything on them. So and when we talk about the value added, I'm going to go ahead and at this point, before we get into the cows and bulls, mention that the value added generally means calves that have at least had some shots and vaccination in them. And if you watch your Facebook posts and things, and Dave Patton's mentioned this before, and a lot of our sales will have quality health and condition on a lot of just super quality health and condition on these cattle. And many of these cattle, and we're talking about that, and we're talking about value added, many of these cattle will be in what we call the Starback program. And the South Central has the Starback program. They've got 3 different levels: 2 levels for home raised calves and 1 level for purchased cattle. But the main ones, folks, that in our part of the country are talking about are home raised calves. We've got the Green Starback program, and again, we supply the tags free of charge on this. And these these cattle, though, to qualify under the green tag program, have to have had at least one round of the IBR, BVD, PI3, BRSV shots in the Pasturella, and 7-way black leg with Haemophilus somnus. A lot of times that can be combined into 2 shots, black leg and somnus, and the IBR, BVD, PI3, and the Pasturella can be combined in one. And now you can get that in with a modified live. We'll sell a lot of green tag, especially this time of year. We'll sell some of these green starback calves that have had 2 rounds of the shots, and we want to announce that. We want to know it. But these are calves that have been home raised, but they haven't been weaned. But at least they have got a full round of a full health program behind them, and it's very important to the buyers and at all times of the year when they're buying these calves, and these buyers that are paying the top end dollars, some of them aren't even going to buy cattle that don't have a health program behind them. And they don't have to have a tag in them. But we're selling more and more cattle via the internet on DD Auction. South Central's part of DD
Absolutely.
Auction.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers can sit in their office or wherever they're at, pull that DD Auction up on their computer or on their TV, and as those calves come in, the green starback tags shine, the red starback tags, and I'll mention that. The red starback is very similar, only it does require that they have had at least 2 rounds of all those shots with modified live, but they also have to be weaned a minimum of 30 days to qualify on the red tag for the red starback. But my point was, as we get more and more into this and more cattle trading on the video thing, and the buyers are more and more comfortable with it, that the cattle they see coming in the ring are being represented fairly. We're not allowing a one with a bad leg or foot or an eye or something to slip in there, but those tags shine, and so as soon as they come in, they can see that. And I've heard buyers, when I get up to the barn, I've heard buyers inquiring how many cattle we got that are weaned, how many cattle we got that've got a good health program behind them, how many starback cattle you're going to have in the sale. So it all adds up, and it means something. So anyway, I did want to mention that if anybody's ever interested, let me know. I keep a supply of red and green starback tags there at home that I can get to a person that, and again, they're no cost. It just helps, and it makes for a pretty flashy looking bunch of cattle. And at any given sale, when there's a whole bunch of those value added cattle bringing in premium dollars, you can just about bet that a big percentage of them will be starback tagged cattle. But again, the whey cow market, as we mentioned, is off a little bit from what it was. Kind of, the fat cattle market lost a little bit of its bloom, and at one point looked like we were going to be in the $2 fat cattle market, and then it kind of back down around $1.80 to $1.85 or so. And so, but still, this whey cow market is just awfully good. And of course, this is a time of year when a lot of people they're going through and figuring out which cows didn't do the best job in the world raising those fall calves, and they've weaned their fall calves and figured out which cows need to go. And with the prices like they are, especially, those cows are starting to show up a little bit. We had a little bigger run of cows, whey cows, especially this week, than what we'd had. But to give you an idea on these prices on these cows, the bulk of these breaking and boning cows, and that'd be those cows that are 75 to 80%. And average and high dressing cows, they're going to be trading in a range of $1.10, $12, up to around $1.26, $7 or $8 a pound. And I was just looking here, we had 1,268 pound cows here at an average price of $1.28. Actually, they were bringing on up there up to around $1.35 a pound on the top end. Some cows here, an average weight of 1,268 at $1.28. That's $1,623 a head just for a cull weight. And that's not a great big huge cow. 1,268 pound cow, $1,623. On over here we had some cows weighing 1,400 and some pounds, bringing $1.26. And whey cows bringing $1,816 a head. So, it's a good time to move those cows that are just not doing the job they need to do. They're older. They've done their job, paid their dues, and good time.
Well, you'll find it interesting. I have to tell a little story myself. My 1,400 to 1,500 pound whey cow that we were all set was going to come up whenever we send the steers up. Well, she brought a bull calf to the pasture this week. So I guess she's
there you go.
When she's not going to leave as a whey cow right now, but since she's out of sync with everything else, she may leave as a 3-in-1 package here sometime during the summertime because she's just out of sync with everything else. And there's a more to the story, but
I'm sure
it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, that's all right though. If she stays around, she'll bring a lot of dollars when she sells, and you'll put a little extra coupon with that calf running along there. So
absolutely,
that's not a bad deal. And the slaughter bulls as well. These slaughter bulls are really taken off, and we didn't really have any I don't believe what I call high dressing bulls at the sale this week, but had some pretty good size old bulls. They were selling in a range of about $1.25 up to $1.50 or so a pound, and was looking here an old bull weighing 1,703 pounds at $1.46. That's $2,480 a head for an older way up bull. So it's an awful good time too for some of those bigger bulls to go to town, and you don't have to put all that much with it to buy a really good top quality younger breeding bull and infuse some younger better genetics into the herd and make for better cows, better calves, and everybody's a winner. So it's a good time.
Sure is.
Good time. It's just a good time, and I mention this from time to time. It's just a good time to be in the cattle business. But I will say this: somebody here the other day said, "Boy, these cattle are high, aren't they?" And I said, "Well, they're higher, but my gosh, you go back, we're just a little bit higher than we were about 10 years ago." But go buy a new truck or gas and diesel.
Or look at that fertilizer price from 10 years ago.
That's
fertilizer is probably
easily doubled,
and probably a little more than that. But anyway, go ahead.
No, we're on the same page, exactly. Yeah. So, they're a little higher, and it really aggravates me when I hear them want to talk about, how much higher food is at the grocery store and so on, and they talk about how much more farmers are getting. Well, wait a second. Again, back up here, we're getting not much more than what we were in 2014. But when you take all the other costs and look at what everything else has done, and if you look at what the total cost of all that food is, and what are all the things that have increased what the cost of that food is, the labor, the fuel, all the various things that it takes, don't go laying it all on the farmers' shoulders for the
percentage-wise, if you took that food bill, and there are studies around, Farm Bureau has a lot of them together, and if you go on a percentage-wise compared to that 10 year ago, the farmer's actually getting a lower percent of the return that you're paying for your food bill than he was 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
Even at these prices today that seem just really, really high compared to the prices of 10 years ago.
Right. So, anyway, that kind of brings us up to date where we're at as far as the feeder market this week. Is I think they called the market $3 to $12 a hundred higher on the steers, heifers $5 to $10 a hundred higher. So moving the right direction, and we look for it to be very, very good as we go through this May and June marketing period on these fall calves. And I know buyers are very interested, and they've got some people that are wanting the calves. The crop farmers are going to be done. Our cattle go two ways. They go north and they go west. And, when the crop farmers have gotten their deal done, well, then a lot of them are interested in buying calves and things. And they're very optimistic on what the fat cattle market's going to be. And so they're interested in feeding calves and feeding grain. And a lot of cattle will go west, and a lot of these calves will be coming off the blue stem pastures here later, and we've just got a great mix of directions for these cattle and places for these cattle to go to, and buyers that are always looking and interested in filling those orders. So we do have them sales coming up, and we're looking for a good sale this week. We've got some really nice strings of cattle, and they're going to sell very well this week. If somebody's not wanting to wait till May, that's fine. We've got a real good sale lined up for this week at South Central Regional Stockyards right there in Vienna. And then we'll be getting started then May the 8th, May the 15th, May the 22nd. We'll have a good sale, and we'll have we've got several nice strings of cattle already, looks like, lined up for that, the week of Memorial Day. The sale's on Wednesday, so Memorial Day's over on Monday. So we're going to sail right on through, and then right on into those June 5th and the 12th sales, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. But you know, if we are set up though at South Central, and that's one thing I've even heard buyers mention, that even when it gets really hot, we've got good pens, we've got good shade on those, good water, and we can take care of the cattle even when it gets hot with a minimum of negative effects on that. So I do want to mention also, Bob, we've got a Show Me Select heifer sale coming up at South Central Regional Stockyards on Saturday, May the 18th, I believe. I'll have to check the calendar.
Yeah, the calendar's, Daryl's looking at it right there behind him. That's all right. We'll get that repaired later. That sounds, I think
Saturday,
you're right.
May the 18th. And I see that's noted. That's Armed Forces Day, so I didn't know that. But anyway, we do have a Show Me Select heifer sale lined up for May the 18th. And I don't know, there's about 40 or 50 heifers that are in that have been enrolled by producers. And those are really some top-notch quality heifers. If somebody's wanting some, these will be heifers that they will have been pelvic measured and pelvic scored. Many of, if not most of them, will be artificial bred to some of the top bulls for calving knees. Heifers that will be calving this fall. These are fall bred heifers, and there's just some really super quality. Some folks from up in the producers in the South Central that are customers of South Central Regional Stockyards have enrolled heifers, and some from outside the area that will be in that sale. But also at the end of the sale, the Stockyards will actually be having a special cow sale with some cows that have been consigned to sell following the Show Me Select sale. So folks, keep that in mind. That sale will start, I believe, and we'll talk more about it when we're back on the radio here on May the 10th is our next radio program. But I believe that sale starts about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday.
Sounds right for heifer sale.
Yeah, that's a separate program. The university works with that, and those heifers will come in there, usually come in on Friday, and they'll get them put in place, and there Saturday they'll be getting them all lined up as to the sale order and so on. So it goes very well, and there will be some really super quality heifers. I've never talked to anybody that bought heifers in those sales that weren't happy with the heifers when they calved and the quality. I know a gentleman down south, right down near Arkansas, that bought quite a few. I delivered them for him actually from the sale last year, and he said they just really done excellent, and excellent disposition, good mothers, calved easily, and which is what you want out of heifers.
Sure.
Always. So anyway, I did want to mention that, and again, that we're going to have some a couple of consignments of special cows to sell then following the Show Me Select heifer deal. And again, that's May the 18th, but our special feeder sales are going to get cranking and rolling here pretty much on May the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and 29th, and then roll right on into June 5th and 12th will be as we. Then we'll just have to kind of see where we're at numbers wise and so on and stuff like that. So anyway, if anybody's thinking about moving, want to take a look at some cattle, if they've got some, want us to take a look, or want to talk to the guys, Dave Ross and Bill Patton own the barn up at Vienna at South Central, and they'd be more than happy to visit with you anytime. Come down on the farm and do an on-farm visit. The number up there to talk to them is 573-422-3305. That's 573-422-3305. Or you can call me, Daryl Skiles, at any time, 573-308-5415. And if I don't get your call, I'll get the message. I'll get back to you. Somebody will get back to you or if you just need help getting some trucking lined up. We've got some excellent truckers. One gentleman right here locally does a lot of hauling for us, John Nolan. Many folks know him. There's none better anywhere to have on your farm, help you get your cattle loaded and get them up to the barn. So anyway, anything we can do to help you, our our goal is just simply try to help our people and our producers get the most value they can and make the most money possible for their
right,
livestock.
sounds
Help them
good.
market them. There's a jillion different places you can take a bunch of cattle and get rid of them, but we want to help you market them and get the most for what you've worked so hard all year. Bob, you're like me. You work about all year, but you sell one time.
Sure.
And that's it. So you want to do the best you can when you do it. So the fellas up there are professionals. It's what they do. Dave Patton, worked for many years with Superior Livestock, done a lot of filming. If we come down on the farm and he gets a chance, he's going to jump out with his phone and want to take some pictures and get some video and things, and does a great job. And you'll see, if you follow on Facebook, South Central Stockyards, you'll see several clips of different cattle that are going to be in the sales as they come up and so on. So give us a call. Again, that number at the barn is 573-422-3305. Or again, you can call me at any time, and that's 573-308-5415. So we'll be back. That's about all I've got, Bob.
All right, Darrell, very good. We thank you for being with us today, and that's been any closing remark, Darrell?
We'll be back here on second Friday morning. We're here every second and fourth Friday morning of the month with the South Central Regional Stockyards livestock market and ag news update. I did intend, and I'll be remiss, I do need to mention this. I was going to have this morning a special guest, Preston Kramer from MoDOT, was going to be on, kind of update kind of what's going on some road projects in the area for the summer. But one thing I told him that I was going to mention on the MoDOT's behalf is, they're going to replace the bridge at Standing Rock Bridge on Highway 19 South. And of course, we at South Central Stockyards, we get a lot of cattle from down on the southern end of the county, or northern Shannon County, and that was an issue. It looked like at one time maybe the whole highway was going to have to be closed for an extended period, and a big detour around towards Acres Ferry. But MoDOT, to their credit, they had a meeting, they listened to what people said and their thoughts and comments, and so they have changed the plan, and they've gotten some additional right-of-way. They'll build a new bridge adjacent to the current Standing Rock Bridge and keep the highway open. There'll be very little, if any, road closure for any length of time as they build the new bridge, leave the old bridge intact, and then get the new bridge opened up. So was glad to hear that, and I know Preston would have been talking about that had he been here. Preston will be back. He's kind of tied up here in May, but we'll have Preston Kramer on sometime in June maybe and talk about what's going on. Maybe one of our meetings here in May, later I'll have our state rep back on to talk about what all kind of good things they done to us up at Jeff City and this past session. So we'll see how that works out. But at any rate, we'll be back here on Friday, May the 10th. And until we're back here, I do hope everyone will be safe, happy, healthy, and God bless each and every one.
And that's been Darrell Skiles from South Central Regional Stockyards.